It's a long river. It gets its water from the tropical parts of Australia, which means it's got a really long pathway for the water to come down into South Australia. When it comes into South Australia, there's a whole myriad of different landforms. So there's long channels, there's water holes, there are distributary channels where it takes a little bit of water off the main flow and puts it out into the floodplain. And then there's a whole lot of other interesting things like swamps and lakes and sand dunes and the interdune spaces. So it's a very, very complex space with a lot of interesting elements to it.
Put simply, the bird assemblages are very diverse. There's a large number of terrestrial bird species that live in the riparian vegetation that we can see around us here at Kalyamurra Waterhole. It's quite a thin strip of the big timber, a dense thin strip of the big timber, but that's crucial for supporting this very diverse bird community of 30 to 40 bird species. Changes a bit with the seasons, and these are the dryland birds, not the water birds. What we see, this is the maximum amount of flow coming into South Australia on Cooper Creek here at Kalyamurra, and as the volume of water declines downstream towards Lake Eyre, the riparian community thins out, and the bird assemblages get less diverse. The numbers of individual species are lower, so less abundant species of the typical birds. And the river red gum cuts out, and where the river red gum cuts out around the Kungi Lakes and at a similar distance downstream on the main branch, that marks a major distinction in that 5 or 6 bird species aren't found any further downstream, even though there's still plenty of coolabah. So there are many different aspects to it.
In this waterhole there's about 13 species of fish, which is about what you'd expect for this part of the country. And there's also a couple of invasive species of fish here. So the most common and well-known fish are things like yellow belly or Lake Eyre golden perch. There's also a couple of species of grunter and a couple of species of catfish, and then a bunch of smaller fish that might be small but equally important for the ecosystem. Things like rainbow fish and glass fish, carp gudgeon.
Particularly in terms of those that have a restricted distribution, the barking owl is listed as a rare or vulnerable species in South Australia, and it really is confined to a few small pockets, of which Cooper Creek, and just this section, the river red gum section of Cooper Creek, is one. When we did our surveys here last year, the barking owls were calling around here at night. They're very vocal down at Kungi Lakes, and they need the river red gums in which to breed, a hollow big enough for them to get inside and breed. So the barking owl is one of those special species. Black-chin honeyeaters, Jackie winters, restless flycatchers, sacred kingfisher, which again sticks to the river red gum. So that's some of the really important riparian bird species, which gives it that vibrancy and diversity.
Some of these weeds can have a huge impact very quickly on landscapes. So things like bufflegrass are taking over whole creek lines and becoming the dominant understory.
The 2 invasive species that we have here are goldfish and gambusia. The goldfish were presumably released by people who were well-intentioned but didn't know that the devastation that they'd have in the system. And the gambusia were introduced largely during the Second World War as a control measure for mosquitoes, but that didn't actually work particularly well, and they have also caused quite a lot of harm to native fish populations.
Understanding that the water's coming from a long way upstream, it has incredibly complex flow patterns as it moves downstream, and so we need to understand how the water moves through the river system, across its floodplain, into various wetlands, and how we can best protect those wetlands and the beneficial flooding which the grazing industry relies on as well.
We need to improve our understanding of how these rivers operate, because the Channel Country rivers particularly are unique in the world.